Hey guys, more food content for you today. So this time I'm doing a little bit of baking, but I had some strawberries left over. I mixed them up into a strawberry and sugar mix. I did not record that, but we are going to talk biscuits. We are going to make biscuits for strawberry shortcake. So I have a recipe that was given to me by my mother, who was given to her by her mother. I wish my grandmother was still alive, because I'd love to know where she got it from, family history and all that. But let's get down there and we're going to get into how to make biscuits for strawberry shortcake. Okay, I'll see you down below. Okay, let's get into it. We are going to start with 2 cups of flour. Now you can store your ingredients any way you choose. I'm starting to see this might not be the best container for flour. Now I will say baking is something I do for fun. When it comes to being in the kitchen, I much prefer the cooking to the baking, but I enjoy the baking. I got 1 cup. And because baking is chemistry, cooking is fun. There we go. So we had 2 cups of flour. Put the top back on this and put it over to the side. Now we're going to need a tablespoon of sugar. I can actually save that. So we got, one tablespoon of sugar. Put that over to the side. Salt. 1 teaspoon of salt. And you don't have to put, dispense it over the bowl. There we go. I just am, because I do this often enough that I'm okay with it. If you're not comfortable doing it over the bowl, do it over a plate so you got somewhere that doesn't make a huge mess. Okay, baking powder. Yes, baking powder. Baking powder and baking soda are 2 very different things. So we have 2 teaspoons of baking powder, which for whatever reason likes to solidify. 1. Baking powder is actually in here as the leavening agent, because we don't, what makes it rise. There's no yeast in this. So the baking powder will help it rise. I'll put this over here. And we're going to need a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Here's my 1/2 teaspoon. My fresh box of baking soda, because the only other one was in the refrigerator. Make it a pain to open. Oh, peel back. Okay. And no, there's no particular brand or another that I prefer, just whatever's there. 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. Now, here comes the first interesting ingredient. It calls for sour milk. So, there is a way to make sour milk. You notice I have the vinegar out here. Okay, I just double checked to make sure I didn't have an already open vinegar. So, how we make sour milk is, where'd it go? 1 tablespoon of vinegar. This might look a little weird, but trust the process. There we go. Put the top back on this, because otherwise we'll have disastrous consequences, I'm sure. And now we're going to add our milk to that. And I'm using regular 2% milk. And we want to have a total of 2/3 of a cup. Let's see. Okay. So there we go. 2/3 of a cup of milk. 2/3 of a cup of sour milk altogether. So milk and vinegar makes your sour milk. Pause this for just a second. Sorry, I realized I hadn't got out a couple of my measuring instruments. So I'm going to pour my sour milk in. There we go. Now, the recipe calls for 3/4 of a cup of Crisco. If you're using less than a cup, you can substitute solidified coconut oil. Trying to find Crisco can be interesting depending on where you are. I'm not the biggest fan of vegetable shortening like Crisco myself, so I found that coconut oil works just as well. Now, you do want to use solidified, so you can see, let me make sure we're in front, solidified coconut oil, and you won't have that coconut taste that goes with it. Let me get a spoon out here. And I'm just going to smush it in to my measuring cup to make sure I have the full amount. My both measuring cups, because God knows you can't have a 3/4 cup measure. It would be too easy. I'll make sure all the air bubbles are out so we know we've got enough. In other later videos, and one of these days we'll get a video where I will get into some of the old school hacks for these things that I'm just not doing today because it's been a while and I'm getting back into the swing of things. Okay, there's our 1/2 cup. I'll pop that in. And I'll tell you this, one hack I will tell you is when you're washing these things, after you do like Crisco or shortening or lard or anything like that, you run really hot water in your sink, it will melt it right off of there. It'll make your life a little bit easier. And I'll do my 1/4 cup to make it 3/4. Okay, and take a little off the top, make sure there we go. Pop that back in the jar for another day. Pop this in here. Okay, now that I have all my ingredients in there, I'm going to do a quick bit of cleanup and we'll be right back so I can have clear space to work in and show you what we're doing. Okay, now that we did a little bit of cleanup, we're going to get into mixing. This tool is referred to as a pastry knife. This is what I'm going to be used for mixing. You can do this with a mixer, and honestly, if I wasn't prepping for like 4 different meals here, I would bring out my KitchenAid mixer to do this in because it makes life easier. You can use a hand mixer, you can use a fork, whatever you want to do. You know, it's one of those things that it's kind of wide open. But I got a pastry knife, and I'm going to use it. You can find these things relatively inexpensively at your local dollar store, be it Family Dollar, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, any of those. Not sponsored, just saying. Not sponsored by them, I should say. And we're just going to use this to mix everything together. And I'm going to roll back my sleeve so y'all can see what's going on a little bit better. And I'm just going in and basically pushing down into the mixture, working my way around the bowl. You see we're getting a slightly crumbly mixture here. It's starting to come together, and this will take a few minutes. Okay, in order to save time on this video, and once in a while you do want to go through and wipe off your pastry knife. Just run your finger along it. So, yeah, wash your hands ahead of time, folks. I'm going to pause this while I get it mixed, and we'll be back. Otherwise, this is going to be an hour-long video. Okay, I got it pretty well mixed now. That only took about 4 or 5 minutes. So, this does not take forever to do. Now, one thing you should be doing is setting your oven to 425 degrees Fahrenheit, which, Alexa, convert 425 degrees Fahrenheit to Celsius.
425 degrees Fahrenheit is about 218.33 degrees Celsius.
So for my international people, 218 Celsius for your oven temperature. So we're going to want to preheat our oven. Now, I got it combined. I got a nice ball of dough here. Making sure we got everything off the sides. I'm going to get a scraper. In the kitchens, in the professional kitchens, we call these $1 million spatula because it saves you money over time by making sure you don't throw away any product that you can use. But it's my silicone, I like that. Okay. So we've got our dough ready to go. We're going to let this rest for a minute, and then we'll come back and get you putting it in the oven. Okay, so we've got our pan. I like to bake with parchment paper. That's up to you. If you don't use parchment paper, then I would absolutely recommend greasing the pan. Now we're going to pull off our little bit of dough. About so much. I don't have a number for you. I just know this is what you want. Plop it right there. Another ball of dough. You want to get them all about the same size, but that's part of the thing about biscuits. They don't always have to be the same size. Once I get them on the pan, I'll look at my spread and may move them around from there. Again, I'm just pulling out dough. And you can make them whatever size you like. Need a little more on that one. And they don't have to be perfect balls either. Thank you, Clover. Sorry. She's got an opinion. This last one's I'll take a little bit off of this one, put it on that one. Okay, so I'm going to spread these out a little bit more. There we go. So this recipe yields 9 of this size. I'm going to pop them in the oven, and we're going to put them in for about 15 minutes or until they are golden brown. So I'm going to pop them in, and we'll see you guys in about 15 minutes. Okay, guys, just under 2 minutes left to go. And we are looking fantastic. So I'm thinking the 15 minutes on this oven is going to be perfect. We'll see y'all in a minute and a half. And just like that, there we go. Turn the oven off. And we have our biscuits. Now we're going to let these cool for a minute. When we're ready to serve, we can cut them in half, put strawberries in them, and we're good to go. I'm going to let these rest for a minute. I'll be back up top for the finish up. I'll see you then. Okay, guys, we're going to wrap this one up. Biscuit. See, there we go. It's still a little bit warm, as you can see. Oh, yeah. These are going to be really good with the strawberries. Yeah, you can buy biscuits at the store, but you know what? It's so much more fun to make them at home, and you share something you made with the people you care about. Remember, do it yourself. It's better. I don't know. I was going somewhere with that. But welcome to my ADHD autistic brain. So, that being said, universe still hates my hair. Be kind to one another. It really does make a difference. Love y'all, and I'll catch you on the next one. Yum.